pretty much about DevSecOps, like it's like adding the security towards the DevOps pipeline, and so it's pretty much about that, like adding security features towards the DevOps pipeline. That's what I'm gonna see. I mean, we are gonna see now. So this is about me. So I'm currently working as a cloud DevOps engineer with Amadeus Labs. So I pretty much work on cloud native developments, and on top of that Docker and most of the clouds. So I'll work most on like on-demand technologies, like which in cloud native, and then the containerization, and then the migration part. So I have written a book on DevOps, which is published in Kindle, and I'm pretty much, I mean, you can see me like in most of the Docker meetups, Kubernetes meetups. I hope some of you have known, but most of here are of developer profiles. This is pretty much about me, my LinkedIn profile, if you wanted to follow me. Yeah, I saw it. So this is pretty much about the agenda. So we'll be seeing what is DevSecOps. Then we'll move on to why it is needed and some of the use cases. It is industry-based practices. What if we don't follow, how much we gonna lose? That's about it. Then what are the benefits? Like if we follow the DevSecOps patterns or principles we can call, like how it benefits us, and in terms of money, in terms of our product value, or in terms of sales, how it will help us. Then we'll have something very important. This is the pretty much over of my talk, like how we like implement DevSecOps principle within DevOps implementations, and where it is fits in exactly in our DevOps pipeline, or what are the tools that we're gonna use, or which stages we will be using it. That's I'll be covering. Then about future. So currently we have something that is budding up, DevSecOps, and most of us are using. I work for Apple in my previous organization. We have end-to-end pipeline with DevSecOps principles and tools. Mostly I can say 90% we have covered. So that's how I can give you the talk about what all that each field, each stages we have implemented. That's how we're gonna see. It's not coming completely.
If not, you can just try that.
No, it's missing the part. I had some titles. It's okay. This is the introduction slide. So about DevSecOps, it is an extension of DevOps. As I mentioned, DevOps, as we know, like development plus operations. Okay, Suraj. So where security fits in. So security is something we can expect in all aspects, like just at the end. Once we develop the code and deploy, then most of us will think of security, like running some scans, integrating with some tools, and that's about it. But now, after the DevSecOps implementations, we have the control over all stages, from the code till the deployment, post-deployment. When I say code, it is not with any host. It's with the developer machine. When you write in your IDE, you have some plugins enabled so that it will automatically scans your code and gives you a feedback. No, you're doing something wrong here. While doing compilation, or on top of that, while writing your code itself, we can able to see. After that, we have something called, we commit our code to GitHub or any other source code repositories. We have some boards enabled, so it will display, as soon as you commit your code, it will analyze your code and give you some gist. For example, GitHub Dependo board. I think some of you have used Dependo board. It will give you some insights like what's your code is about, and where you lack something, some kind of a compilation errors or some functional errors it will give you. And this is pretty much DevSecOps operations. It is not just security experts portfolio where it will lead to security. It is with developers, security team, and the operations. The security is more of a responsibility of each person who is involved in the development life cycle or application life cycle. And then some we have at stages: plan, code, test, build, release, and deploy. So I'll covering up in the next coming slides, like how like DevSecOps fits in all aspects. So
in the previous slide, other than security, what are the other things it can do?
Sorry?
Other than security, what are the other operations it can perform?
I'll cover it in the next slides. Yeah.
I'll just give the mic in the audience.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So why is it important, DevSecOps? What if we don't follow the principles, and where we are lacking, and what is the effects if you don't follow? First thing is, application security is from the beginning. As I mentioned, from the code level, when the developers are doing their code, we can able to see from the IDE level that the security lacks. And then after that, we have some other phases, release, or while at the time of build, at the time of deployment. So all these aspects we can able to cover if we enable the DevSecOps pipelines. And then it finds the vulnerability. So when you say vulnerability, you will think of at the time of delivery, like as when your code is running, some vulnerability is found. It's not like that. At the time of your code compilation or code creation, like while designing your code, you can able to check the vulnerabilities. So it will save you a lot of time as well as the money. Like which I say money, like at the time of your code got some vulnerability or your project, you have to spend a lots of lakhs to millions. You have to to rectify it. It will take you a lot of time also. It is not just with the money, like time also, like how you will rectify and who gonna you engage. Not just your developers can't solve your problem. You have to hire some external agency or third-party vendors to fix it. Then it means for the speed and better results. When I say speed, it means like typically for the regular development workflow, we have the waterfall model, then we have agile model. After the DevOps implementation, we could see the faster releases. Like not just we are waiting for 2 weeks or 3 weeks sprint for a new delivery. After the DevOps introduction, as soon as you commit your code, you will see it as a live. So that's how the speed and faster delivery. That's how we go for DevOps. Then something called better results. What I mean to say in the better results is that your code is secured. So you no need to worry till your code is at this time of code building. Latest point of stage, we have some other pipelines, so we can talk about it later. And reducing the vulnerability. So each stage, if you implement security standards and security tools, you eliminate the risk, or you reduce the risk by some percentage. So that's how I will have reducing the vulnerabilities. And there are some stats I have given, like it is a survey conducted by CISOs and CIOs. When I say CISOs, it is Chief Information Security Officers of the top organizations, just the product organizations. This is the results. You just have a look at it. So most of them are like lacking the principles, lacking the DevSecOps tools. So they are like prone to attacks. So how it values to them? Like they reduce the cost. Sorry, they have to pay some cost to that while giving some remedy to their DevSecOps things. And there is something called growth of cybercrime cost. What is cybercrime cost? It doesn't mean that when you code, it is prone to attack, you are paying something. It is not just with the cybercrime attacks. There is something called business value also. For example, I'm owning some business application, for example, some banking application. My application got attacked. It doesn't mean that I'm only paying the money to the cybercrime experts. I'm losing my own business value also. For example, my application got stuck for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. My business cost, that is also included. So for now it is 3 million 2015 level. Now it is triple times, 9 million around. It's expected to grow around 10.5 in the next coming years. So these are all the benefits I'm talking about. First is the improved security. As I mentioned, from each stage, if you implement the DevSecOps principles, you eliminate the risk or you reduce the risk by some percentages. That's how we'll get the improved security. Second, cost reduction. As I mentioned earlier, we eliminate the risk, so the cost will be reduced. So as soon as we get new vulnerabilities also, we can able to mitigate with some of the standard protocols and standard procedures that we have followed, and with some of the best tools, industry's best tools, we can able to do the cost reduction. Then the responsibility part. So as I mentioned earlier, like responsibility in respect to security is for all people who are involved in the software development lifecycle. It's not just with security experts or DevOps experts, even the developers, testers, SRE people who will be taking care of the project from A to Z, like from the development till the deployment, post the application gets into the life cycle. Then obviously boost in the production sales. When I say production sales, you can market your product like my product is a bug free, or my product is tested with the industry's best standard security tools, so that I can market my product as best one. So you will get the more sales. And secure by design, obviously you will have the design with a secured one, so that you will get a more secured model but your side. Speedy recovery. So what if I done all the process and implemented end-to-end DevSecOps pipelines, still I found some vulnerability? How you will recover it? Before that, if you don't find if you don't implement anything, it will take you months to find where my bug exactly fits in, where it is in a development phase or any code level, third-party integrations or infra level, we don't know. After the introduction, we can easily find out which phase or which tool or which skill, just to reference it, not just directly you can put it. Then something called CA server. Then the authentication and authorization systems. Like before that we just have username and passwords. Now we have more standards. Two-way authentication, then we have something called RSA tokens. Then we have something called through Google Authenticator, some apps we have. So we have to implement in such a way that it will be prone to attacks. It should not prone to attacks. Then code analysis. Hope most of us here are using SonarQube. Anyone? So I couldn't see the hands. So SonarQube is very best example for the SAST analysis. So SAST is static application security testing, which will analyze your code and it will give you based on our quality standards, maybe quality gates, quality profiles you will create based on, for example, I am writing some Java code. We will be creating some quality profiles, which is default one, or sometimes we can do the custom also. So it will get some results on top of that. So which we can integrate with the CI pipeline so that as soon as I commit my code, it will go through some steps. At the time of SonarQube, code quality analysis, we can set the percentages like code coverage is 70, 80, then only it has to go to the next level. So that's how we'll go here. Then very important one, composition. So now we are just not just doing one product development. We'll be dealing with multiple third-party tools like API development or three-tier architecture. We have to talk about backend and some other front-end systems or some third-party tools. For example, so our authentication alone, I have to talk to some system, then get some keys or some authenticated. So all these things we'll talk about the composition, mostly on the third-party tools. Then something called deploys, CI server deployments. After the code is written, build, how it will deploy. Now, at the time of deployment, we have to follow some standards with respect to IAC, infrastructure as a code. We are not doing live, just go to the Jenkins, create some direct, things. We have something called IAC templates, which will does the jobs. So you get this platform agnostic. You can keep it some other tools also. It might work. Then pretty much a DAST, dynamic application security test. It's for the container analysis. So I'll be talking about one tool which I have used personally, Prisma Cloud Twistlock CLI. So most of us, we are working on the containerized, right, for Dockers. So how the images were scanned. For code wise, we have some other standards and a lot of other tools also. For containers, how the images are scanned. That's what I'll be talking about. That will cover that part. Then the security review by some managers or some other persons. For now, most of our approvals are manual. Someone has to click approve button or someone has to give some mail so you can go to the next level. So when you say this logo, sign off, that is where a human intervention needed. So if not that, we have something called automated approvals from some of the tools. Anyone heard of Spinnaker? Using it, right? Yeah, Spinnaker's what we have is, we have the integration to Slack or any other Teams or any other messaging tool. So it will send you a notification. You have to click yes or no. Or you have to, if you click yes, it will directly get it approved. If it is no, you have to provide some comments. So developers, we don't need to wait for our managers to arrive or he has to approve. We will get it on time. You will get some notification as mobile or desktop. He has to approve or reject it. So we'll get it passed. Then pretty much about the image assurance, which I have talked about. Yeah, deploy to production, as I mentioned, in this stage also, integration part, and this stage also, till the production deployment, we have the IAC templates ready. So in terms of cloud, we have, for AWS, we have CloudFormation. In terms of Azure, we have ORM templates. Or like cloud agnostic, we can follow with Terraform, like HashiCorp's Terraform, which does the job very well. It is, once you written the code, it can be applied on any of the clouds. For example, AWS, Azure, they have their own templates. But if you written a code on Terraform, it can either work on both or any other tools or even in the simple VM flows also. Then the privileged access for network isolation. This is something mostly with cloud native tools. Like when I say cloud native, it is about Kubernetes and Docker. So I have my Kubernetes cluster created. I have access to it. For example, myself, I am the developer or I am the admin. I have some permissions. My manager has some permissions. Regular developers like you people have some permissions. How I will identify it? Who will does what? Basically, we have the IAM rules in our systems. We can limit ourselves. But in case of Kubernetes or the cloud native stuff, we have something called RBAC, role-based access control. So it will display you whoever accesses the access can delete the pod. For example, I host my application. Accidentally, one of my developer deletes it. So it's lost, right? But still, we have our systems ready, backend we have. But in terms to control these limits, we have something called RBAC. Then something called application protection in a two different format. One is a web application firewall, as you know. And then the RASP. RASP is a real-time application self-protection. These are the tools. I'll be giving you a list at the end. Then we have something called infrastructure and data protection. This can be managed mostly by the cloud providers like AWS, Azure. We don't need to worry about what are all the infra things that we have. They will take care mostly. Then coming to the very important aspect, vulnerability scanning. So this you might have experienced. After your code is deployed, you have something called scanning tools, Contrast, Web Inspect, ThreatFix. There are a lot of tools which will scan your entire application, not just the application logs. Your monitoring logs, system logs, server logs, and then if we come to cloud native, we have a different logs with respect to pod, cluster, and everything. Then the continuous monitoring and incident response. So I have implemented everything. I got some alert, the alert is severity 1. How I will deal with it? I have to place something called incident management. So where I have to find the alert, which system I have the alert, then I will talk about it. Then the rinse and report, it is just the entire process. You might have seen the infinity symbol for DevOps. That's about it. So this is some statistics. I don't want to go deeper. I have less time. So just see, this is the mature DevOps practice. This is non-mature DevOps practice. So in this phase itself, SEA, DAST, CSA, and IAST, most of the mature practices have implemented in it twice than the regular one. And then that is important. What is the ransomware attack frequency? 2016, it is 40 seconds. Now it is 11. It is also previous year. This year, if you take, we have around 8 or 9 seconds. That's what I can see. Yeah. So this is pretty much the tools which I can collate from the internet. And right side, you can see what are the tools I have personally worked and I have experience. If anyone need any help in this, I can able to help you. So maximum tools I have covered here. And I have written a DevSecOps tools list also. If you have some time, you can check it over there. And that is the tool I have talked about, Twistlock. That is the image quality tool from Prisma Cloud. It's a very good tool for image scanning. It will give you the results by layer. If you know about the Docker containerization, we will write the images, create the Docker file by line. So it will scan you by the stages by stages, will give the results, and depend about Terrascan for SAST, Aqua, and Gatekeeper for Git-based tools. This is the last one. What is the future? We have the DevSecOps principles, tools enabled, and I have end-to-end pipeline. What next? What we can expect in the next decade? That's how it is AA and ML. You can see some board which will protect some bugs. So this is about it. So why we need it? What we are expecting in the next decade is that the current market, we have a lot of logs in terms of pod, in terms of cluster, in terms of DNS. We have a lot of logs. Human cannot read all the logs and visualize where it is. Though we have some monitoring tools, kind of Splunk, Datadog, Dynatrace, to give you some visualization, still interpretation lacks. We'll get the report, but how to interpret? We have tons of logs. How to interpret? It will give you some dashboards, this percentage, this much logs and all. So the bots from A and ML will play a crucial role here to give you some suggestions. For example, I host my entire application in AWS. I have some limit this much percentage and I have purchased it. When I'm not utilizing my resources, it is a waste of time, waste of money for me. So the bot will tell you, you're not utilizing the resources, delete it. So it is a cost reduction. On top of that, I have some servers hosted on my AWS. It is about to reach some percentages. So this bots will tell you, scale it up. As part of cloud native, we have automatically the auto scale groups are there. But in terms of regular flows, we need some interventions here.
Like as you mentioned already, Kubernetes is there which will take care of it. Then why?
Sorry.
For scalability, Kubernetes is there which will take care of it.
That's about
why require the launch a scanner?
That
Or
is
which
for-
level you are running this scan? All the layer or only some layer?
No, all layers. Kubernetes for cloud native stack.
Yeah.
This is of the regular stack. For example, you are hosting your application on a VM-based machines like AWS, EC2, Azure VMs. Those machines, we have the auto-scaling groups. Still, bots can tell you, it as interpretation I'm saying with the logs that we have. And then we are moving next thing is no ops. Just mark that term, no ops. From DevOps, DevSecOps, we have a lot of terminologies, FinOps, FinSecOps, and then no ops. For ops part, like we don't need to worry, like in future, all the operations part can be automated. Right now, I can say still some of our applications are automated. We don't need to worry about the operational part. It's completely taken by the tools, bots that we have developed. And it's pretty much, you can say, eliminates the work of a human, and some of us might lose jobs also. Yeah, still, we are not just with operations. Like you might have heard Linux admin, still we have, but at the time of, our, like my career starting stage and all, we have terms, Linux administrators. Now you cannot see Linux admins specifically. It's directly with DevOps, SRE, and pretty much that. So that's what I'm meaning in the no ops transformation. Yeah, that's it about my presentation. Any questions?
What do you mean by noisy report?
Noisy report, like, yeah, for example, I have implemented one of my application with a lot of 10, 12 production parts running. It will generate more logs. How do you interpret it? Like we have a Splunk, Prometheus, Grafana. It will give you the dashboards.